Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The Bridge School, the accredited international online private school of choice, at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
And by airs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at airs.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles with flexible solutions and financing. On the web at intlauto.com.
Become a global player in your field.
Cross Culture to Go provides virtual support for your global business and career success.
We can help you thrive in 140 plus countries and markets.
On the web at crossculturetogo.com.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a timely announcement.
Hi, I'm Sergey Gorbatov.
I'm Angela Lane.
Together we're researchers, writers and practitioners in the field of human resources.
And we've also been multi-country, multi-assignment career expats.
We owe our professional development and growth to a very large extent to the international assignment opportunities that we have had.
But in a world where distributed work may become the norm, we also want to understand what will happen to the nature, duration, and purpose of international assignments.
Together with our colleague, Julian Dalzell from the University of South Carolina, we're undertaking a study on the future of expatriation.
And we'd value your contribution. You can participate in this important study by completing a simple 10-minute questionnaire.
Access the questionnaire by typing in your browser tinyurl.com/expert study. That's tinyurl.com/expert study. You can also find the link here on Ed's website next to this video.
Thank you for joining us in this study. In return for your contribution, we'll provide you with a copy of our research.
And of course, you'll be invited to an exclusive webinar hosted by Ed, where we will share our findings right here on Global Business News.
And so please go to tinyurl.com/expat study. Take the survey so that we can better understand the future of expatriation.
Hi, this is Ed Cohen in San Diego, and you're on Global TV Talk Show. And with us is Inventor Brian Hageman, who's CEO of Deluge Technologies, Inc. Hello again, Brian.
Hi, Ed. How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
It's really a pleasure. Great to see you again. So we're here to talk about your business, about Deluge Technology, Inc., and about your passion here and your quest to help Arizona solve a water problem. But you're saying it's not a water problem, it's a salt problem. Is that correct?
Well, in Arizona, yeah, we've got, we're living in the middle of a desert. We got to watch where we get our water from and conserve it. And we do that. We've always done that. But we need more water with the population growth. And there's a huge amount of water that's underground in central Arizona, but it's too salty. The brackish water. It's not ocean water, but it's brackish, heavy salt in it. And it's a huge amount of good water. We just got to take the salt out of it.
So we're going to get to this, and we're going to watch your video. We want people to have a look at this because it's really interesting, and it's actually fascinating. So let's talk about today the drought in the West. I'm here in Southern California by the ocean, but there's like a huge 200,000 acre fire going on in Northern California, and they can't seem to control it. And there's other fires that are supposed to erupt as we get into the fall because of no rain. And so we have a huge water crisis here and throughout the West. So I was thinking, and you can tell me that I'm crazy, but you would have some insight into this. Why don't we come up with a plan, or maybe somebody's already got a plan, to build a pipeline system from like New Orleans, the Gulf State area, to capture the excess rainwater and ship it out here with spigots along the way in Phoenix and Vegas and San Diego and all of California, Vegas too, just to capture that water and refill reservoirs, purify it along the way perhaps. And then another crazy idea is, boy, we're sitting next door, right down the street here. I could practically see the Pacific Ocean from here. Why not have a moonshot project and begin desalinizing the Pacific Ocean and capture all that? I would think that water would become the new oil, and there could be all kinds of revenue bonds connected with that development. But you're the inventor, I'm not. What do you think?
Well, we're going through a drought. There's no doubt about it. We used to have a saying that in meteorology that you can't predict the weather, and that's still true. You can't predict the weather. We don't know what it's going to be next year. Phoenix, Arizona, we're sitting in the middle of a desert, and we just had a cold spell in July, 3 days of 80-degree weather that we've never had in July in history. So for us, we're seeing new highs, new lows. But as far as water, Arizona, and I'm going to talk a lot about Arizona, but I'm global. But Arizona needs to become self-sufficient. We import all of our gasoline, all of our natural gas, 99% of our natural gas, and 100% of our gasoline is imported through pipelines from other states. We need to become self-sufficient. Everybody does. In a sustainable world, we need to have self-sufficiency be the rule. And so I'm not saying I'm against more pipelines, including water from the Great Lakes or south on the Mississippi or wherever. But I'd rather see us become sustainably self-sufficient in every lifestyle, in every city that we live in, make sure that we become self-sufficient. And tapping into the Pacific Ocean, of course, is something that we already do in San Diego. We desalinate a lot of water down there in San Diego from the Pacific Ocean. And the trouble is it's super expensive because they've got to use electricity to run their giant pumps. The motors on these giant pumps uses up gobs of electricity. So it's very expensive. So they need a technology like mine that doesn't use electricity, or we use about 1/10 of the electricity that they do now. So it needs to happen in the future. Saudi Arabia is completely dependent on desalinated water in Saudi Arabia. They have more desalination in that country than anywhere in the world. And it works, except the desalination plants have to sit right next door to a power plant that's run on fossil fuels. So we're determined, and our goal is to, for sustainability, is to become self-sufficient everywhere.
Okay, so we want to get to your video in just a sec, but before we turn that on, so you've been at this a long time, and so you're making presentations to the state, to the governor's office, and you have a lot of scientific backup, as I learned from you. And so tell us your take on this and what's involved here. Is it going to happen?
Well, yeah, it is, but excuse me, the adoption of any new technology is tough because it's disruptive, not just in the marketplace, but it's disruptive to governments, policy, engineers. Engineers are one of the toughest groups to convince because they can't pull out an engineering handbook and say, okay, this hydraulic engine fits in and how do we design it? And the engineers are the toughest to adopt. So rather than try to sell the technology, we're selling water and hydrogen in this new project. And we don't have to worry about adoption of the technology. But that's the toughest part that I've run into is the technology adoption that we always hear about. But it's and with government, again, there's no policy in Arizona for desalinated water. How much is the going rate for cost? And so government has to redo their policies, and then academia it needs to catch up on how to teach thermal hydraulics in their classrooms.
Great. Okay, shall we go to your video?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, Paul, thank you.
Hello, thank you for your time today. I'm Brian Hageman, inventor of the hydraulic engine, and I'm showing how I'm going to put my technology to use in Arizona at the new Palo Verde Desalting and Hydrogen Production Facility. This presentation was prepared for the Arizona Corporation Commission commissioners and the Resource Planning Group at the Arizona Corporation Commission. We need to provide a diverse water supply in Arizona, and we need to use renewable energy for a sustainable future. And I'm going to show you how my technology is going to do that. We have a huge source of water underground. It's called the Buckeye Waterlogged Area. It's been documented a few times by the Arizona Department of Water Resources. And it's a massive underground aquifer, and they call it waterlogged because there's a bottleneck in the water flow on the southwest end that traps the underground water and makes the water table very shallow. There's places you can dig about 4 feet and hit the water table. Unfortunately, guys, this water is too salty to use for human consumption, farming, or ranching. It's called brackish water. It's got about 3,000 parts per million of salt, and the most we can drink healthy wise is about 500 parts per million. Most of our water in the Phoenix area is lower than that, around 200 to 300 parts per million. But what we need to know is how much water is in this waterlogged area, and I'm going to talk about my analysis of that waterlogged table today. According to the Arizona Department of Water Resources, all the water underground flows from east to west and north to south. That's coming down the Salt River from east to west. Underground, there's the underground water flow, or from north to south along the Agua Fria River or the Hacienda River from north to south. All the water flows into the bottlenecked Buckeye waterlogged area. One thing underground that's unusual that happens is at Luke Air Force Base, there's what's called the Luke Salt Dome. And all the water, it's this gigantic salt formation underground that's been there for a million years, that all the water from north to south here flows over and around the Luke Salt Dome. So everything below that is salty water that contaminates the water. And unfortunately, now we can't use that water for human consumption, ranching, or farming. The water then, after the bottleneck, flows down to the Gila Bend area and then flows all the way down to Yuma and south to the Gulf of California, the Sea of Cortez, where it gets contaminated completely with ocean water. All this water that's given to us by nature should be used in a sustainable world. We should be using all this good water before it ends up in the Gulf of California. But again, it's too salty. A lot of geologists argue about why is there so much salt in the water here? I think it's because of the Luke Salt Dome, but a lot of the geologists in Arizona believe it's from farming operations that end up with the sediments, salt sediments from farming operations that ends up in the underground water. In my recommendation report to the governor, I explained and tried to quantify how much water is in the aquifer underground. This bottlenecked, waterlogged area is huge. There's a massive amount of water underneath all the farmland in Buckeye. And like I said, it's so shallow that it actually is disturbing the crops. And the salt water, when it hits the root lines of crops in Buckeye, it tends to kill the crops. So what we do is pump water out of that area and lower the water table for the benefit of the farmers. My new Palo Verde facility will be right at the end of that farmland. And what I'm showing is that with desalting this water that's too salty to use, taking the salt out of that water with my facility is going to give us an assured water supply for over 50,000 homes that's ready for desalting right now from the water that's being pumped out of the Buckeye Valley area. This desalinated water could feed enough water to 50,000 homes that could serve the North Buckeye area, an area that will be developed and about the size of Scottsdale, Arizona. We've been lowering the water table through the use of 9 well pumps in Buckeye that's been pumping water 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, out of the water table to lower that water table for the benefit of the farmers, so it doesn't affect their crops where they grow their alfalfa. And to give you an idea of how much water is being pumped, I did a study of all the 9 wells. Turns out to be 8.3 billion gallons per year that's being pumped out of the ground. And if all that water was desalted before they pump it and it drains back into the Gila River and goes back underground, but that whole 8.3 billion gallons per year, like I said, it's enough for 50,000 homes if desalted. And to give you an idea about what 8.3 billion gallons of water is, that would fill the 42-story Bank One Tower in downtown Phoenix twice a week. If you turn the Bank One Tower into a big aquarium and emptied it twice a week, we'd be able to fill it up with water twice a week. That's a huge amount of water that's being lost. It's being lost. We're not using it, and we should be using it. We just have to take the salt out of it. My new Palo Verde desalting and hydrogen production facility is located in this aerial view. This gold square right here is my property in Palo Verde, 12 acres that'll house the facilities for my first desalting facility. I plan to build 5 or 6 more desalting facilities through the Buckeye Valley to take advantage of the water resource that we have there that's not being used. And also the hydrogen production facility will be on this site, and it'll be the first of dozens of hydrogen production facilities that I'm going to build throughout Arizona. This facility, when fully built, will produce 1.5 billion gallons of water per year and 95,000 MCF of hydrogen per year. That MCF is thousands of cubic feet, so that's actually 95 million cubic feet of hydrogen per year that I'm going to be producing from this site. That's enough fuel for a whole lot of industry and hydrogen powered cars. We'll also be producing hospital grade oxygen and rock salt from this facility. Each one of my phase 3 projects consists of the 24 solar collectors. These are dish type concentrating solar collectors that collect the heat from the sun. Collects the heat up 1,000 to 1,200 Fahrenheit, and then I pump it into a storage area a thermal storage battery that we store the heat in a kind of a man-made geothermal underground storage area, and then that heat provides my engines 24-hour fuel, so I can operate my systems 24 hours a day and desalinate water, make electricity, and also produce hydrogen. Each one of these phase 3 projects will be built one at a time. There'll be 4 of them in the full design that'll be built through the 12-acre property. We'll have a lagoon. This is the raw water that I'll be pumping out of the underground aquifer, all the salt water, in a lagoon that'll supply my desalination systems. And then the byproduct coming out of desalination with reverse osmosis is the salt, the heavy brine that comes out. But I'm going to send that through some more solar collectors that will evaporate and condense even more water out of that water stream, leaving a salt mud that I'll dry out into salt rock in this area of the facility. This phase 1 and phase 2 project down at the south end of the facility will be built first. The phase 1 and phase 2 will produce 150,000 gallons per day of desalted water and also a good supply of hydrogen. And we need to get this first facility up and running with customers, and then I'll be able to qualify for water bonds from the Arizona Water Infrastructure Bond Authority. Will be able to provide bonds for the phase 3 projects. The hydrogen production facility that we'll have on site uses electrolysis. Electrolysis is a way to take the oxygen and hydrogen atoms that are connected together with a magnetic bond. If you feed electricity, DC electricity, into the cathode and anode with a membrane, electrolyte membrane in between, the atoms will break down their magnetic field and become oxygen and hydrogen gas. It's a fairly simple process. This will be our own in-house design of these vessels and cathodes and anodes that will break down the hydrogen. And since our generators produce DC electricity, we've already got the DC electricity we need from our generators that are 100% solar powered. This is going to produce hydrogen at a much lower cost. Being made with 100% renewable energy, I'll be able to produce hydrogen gas at a cost lower than natural gas. This is our future fuel for industry and transportation that produces 0 emissions when burned. The Palo Verde Desalting and Hydrogen Production Facility will provide our state with the diversified water supply that we really need. We've got good water supplies from surface water, groundwater, Colorado River, but we need more. And there's this massive water supply that we're losing. Every day the water flows and we lose it to the Gulf of California. We need to use it. Nature provided it to us, and for a sustainable future, we need to be using as much of that water as we possibly can. But you have to do it with 100% clean renewable power to be the sustainable future that we all want. My system for desalination uses reverse osmosis and evaporative desalination to squeeze out every bit of that clean water out of that salt water that we possibly can. Electrolysis hydrogen generation is a proven technology that can be built fairly cheaply, and we can produce the gas at a lower price because the compression that has to be done, we don't need electricity off the grid to do that. We supply the electricity ourselves. This all comes to us because of my technology, the hydraulic engine, that is the most sustainable, power system you can find. And everything we do is going to be at competitive prices to our customers. Thank you very much for your time. If you'd like to contact me, you can get me email-wise through info@brianhageman.us, or go to my website and check out other videos that talk more about this Buckeye waterlogged area at www.brianhageman.us. Thank you very much.
Hey, Brian, that was brilliant. And I wish you Godspeed and good luck in all this stuff. It's really massive. And I sure hope that the powers that be are as interested as I am.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the time today. And yeah, it's I'm trying to make the disruption as easy as possible by, like I said, not trying to sell technology, but selling water and hydrogen. That's an easy commodity to sell, and I want to make it the least disruptive
Yeah,
to consumers as possible.
good. Well, thank you for being again on Global TV Talk Show, and welcome back. Let's stay in touch.
Thank you. We will.
All right, thank you. This is Ed in San Diego signing off. That's Brian Hageman, inventor in the metro area of Phoenix. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.